a lot of times we are guilty of the crime of indecent exposure.
Okay.
Let me put this out there. Let me put this out here.
I'm gonna let you do it.
Let me put this out here.
I think
For
I'm
those
with you.
of you guys that don't know, man, indecent exposure is an actual crime, and not to look at it in a lewd way, but what I'm saying is that if you look at the definition of it, is when you expose your private parts to people that you're not supposed to. Yeah. And what I'm saying is that a lot of the stuff we get caught up in the glamour of everybody putting their business out there on Instagram and on social media and stuff like that we feel like we need to show our hand to everybody.
Yeah.
And we indecently expose ourselves, and we end up getting the adverse effects of that. And so what I'm saying is ultimately, like, that's why a lot of times we're apprehensive. We've shared our dreams with people that we shouldn't have shared our dreams with.
Facts.
But based on the poll that we just read, there's a lot of people who don't even know where to start in, pursuing business, but they want to. They know they have something in them. They know they have something that they want to give, share, offer to the world, but maybe they don't have someone who can tell them, hey, you know what? You've been really good at this, or who that's kind of been rearing them up from a young child to go into that. So what advice would you guys give someone who wants to give something but doesn't know where to start?
I feel like for me, because I don't offer a product necessarily, I offer a service.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it can be really easy to do any and everything.
Yeah.
I would really, if you were trying to provide a service, for instance, like let's say that you were doing a cleaning service.
Yeah.
If you're doing a cleaning service, you don't necessarily clean everything. So for instance, you're not going and cleaning out septic tanks.
Yeah.
You might be offering, hey, I offer cleaning services to churches.
Yeah.
Or I offer cleaning services to small business.
Yeah.
Get that business plan down. And then from there, you go and you say, okay, I'm going to start making contacts to these different people.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, bang, bang. And I'm going to say, hey, if you give me a chance, I see that you're a new business. Give me a week and I'll show you how well I do in cleaning your business.
Yeah.
And we can work out something from there.
Yeah.
And that's just an example. I think a lot of people are so afraid of just getting started that, they're afraid of the unknown. Like, what if it fails? Okay, what if it does fail?
Yeah.
If it fails, you come back, you make some adjustments, and you get right back to it. Like, like we said episodes ago, there's no losses, there's just lessons.
Facts.
For you to go back and do something better. It takes time, and not to expect that every time that you put out a new idea, not everyone sticks, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That helps you kind of readjust and go back from there. But writing the vision down, making it plain, and getting that together. If you have a product to do, start doing tests. Start like what you did, for instance.
Yeah.
You had me and Donald out in your parking lot, like, hey, help me test this, bro.
Yeah.
You're the biggest dudes I know.
Yeah.
Help me prove this.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I want to make sure that before I put this out there, that it's proven that me calling this ergo leash and being able to handle excited dogs, like you put it, that is going to stand to what I'm going to be delivering.
Yeah.
It's just putting those things into place.
Yeah. Bro, that's huge, and something that you said that I know is continues throughout the journey of building a business is moments of being like afraid, or doing like your dad always says, like Pastor John always says, courage is doing something in the face of, fear. Like, despite of, like, you can feel fear or you can feel afraid, but doing it despite of or in spite of that fear, like that right there is what makes someone bold and courageous. And there's been so many times along this journey in different aspects of life that I've been afraid leading up into the thing I thought I wanted the most. You know what I mean? Like, leading up into the interview this week, the day before, y'all, I was a wreck. I was a wreck. Like I hit them up, and when they said, "Oh, can we have you out next week?" I was like, "Yo,
already?
It's a little too fast." You know what I'm saying? I don't got my pitch down. You know, whoop, whoop, whoop. But there was a point in time on my drive up there as I was praying that God was like, "I chose you for this." Like, I chose you for this. I could have had anyone invent the ergo leash, but I specifically chose you. So who better to share this product and the message with the masses on live television? And that was what gave me the boldness and the courage to actually go out there and be confident, you know? But that being said, like, I want to encourage everyone who's listening out there. Like, that's all really business is, you know, being called to serve. Somebody, there's something in you that you have to share with the world, and you got to tap into it. You know what I'm saying? And fortunately, and I know there's so many different ways, man, we all could attest to the goodness of God and how he's bringing that out and curating us to be able to share this with people.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't think that there's really much of a difference between the fact that of whether what you have to offer is a product or you offer a service, because even a product is for the purpose of service, right? You offer a product that serves a purpose. And whether you offer a service, you serve with purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, whatever it is that you have to offer, whether it's a product or a service, it just needs to be done with purpose and intentionality.
Yeah.
So I know, for me, one of the big things in offering your goods or whether you're offering a service is it kind of goes back to the whole thing of when you were saying you were apprehensive about, you know, putting this out there, putting myself out there, and then going along with what you were saying as far as like just testing it out, you know, just seeing whether it's the fact that you bake cookies or whatever, or you're a baker and you're like, yeah, throw them. Because what was funny is like last week, one of my coworkers was saying his wife just started like baking cakes, and she like cooked, I don't know, she baked like 7 layers of cake and brought them into the office like, hey, yeah, y'all eat this up because it can't stay at my house. And it was like, just eat it up. And it was crazy, man, because like them cakes, I'm still on my eating plan, man. I was like,
I ate that whole 7-layer cake.
Man, nah, that cake was like dense too, man. It was like some thick, moist looking cake, man. But nonetheless, again, it was like the whole thing was just trying out there. You know what I'm saying? There's a vulnerability that comes along with that, which led me to this idea I was just thinking earlier today as I was thinking about us coming here and having this conversation, is that a lot of times we are guilty of the crime of indecent exposure.
Okay.
Let me put this out there. Let me put this out here.
I'm gonna let you do it.
Let me put this out here.
I think
For
I'm with you.
those of you guys that don't know, man, indecent exposure is an actual crime, and not to look at it in a lewd way, but what I'm saying is that if you look at the definition of it, is when you expose your private parts to people that you're not supposed to. Yeah. And what I'm saying is that a lot of the stuff we get caught up in the glamour of everybody putting their business out there on Instagram and on social media and stuff like that we feel like we need to show our hand to everybody.
Yeah.
And we indecently expose ourselves, and we end up getting the adverse effects of that. And so what I'm saying is ultimately, like, that's why a lot of times we're apprehensive. We've shared our dreams with people that we shouldn't have shared our dreams with.
Facts.
We've given pieces of ourselves to people that we shouldn't have given it out to. It wasn't meant for that. We were meant to have the right people at the right time in the right place. And I know for me, as far as this, I know it's kind of like a little roundabout way of getting there, but honestly, that when you think about it, it's someone who's deviant. If you're constantly looking to be affirmed, you're constantly looking to be affirmed by people, when you know good and well, man, like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. Like you said, ergo, like, what would have happened if you was like, no, I'm gonna send somebody else out there to go represent ergo on good day? You know what I'm saying? that would have jacked everything up. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, no, you were called to this. You were chosen. And there's so many people, I think, that are out there that are even in that poll that we took, that's been their experience. Like they've been paralyzed because they've exposed their stuff way too early, or they to the wrong people, and you know what I'm saying, it jacked them up, and now they've been caught in this cycle of like almost like this deviant. Because think about it, in the natural, somebody who goes and does that, they are a deviant, right? There's something wrong with them, and I think in our case, in the sense of, you know, going and pursuing your purpose and your call and your dream, is that if you find yourself in a place where you constantly have to be affirmed, or you have to constantly seek attention from somebody in order to be able to do, you have to constantly be patted on the back for everything, you have to understand that that's not what this business is. That's not how things get accomplished.
Yeah.
You have to be in those places of vulnerability, of where you're afraid to put yourself out. You're afraid to take those first steps. You just have to go and trust God. It requires faith.
Yeah.
For you to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
So
Like the last project I just did for the church, we did the documentary for the 13-year anniversary, right?
Which is fire, by the way.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Fire.
But here's what becomes the thing, though, right? And you're talking about like not worrying about having to be affirmed. As I'm editing it and like putting together, this is my first time doing a documentary. I'm like, to myself, I'm like, this is coming across dope. This is about to be fire.
Yeah.
And I think it was a blessing, low key, like to have that week off after it released, because I didn't hear any feedback. So I didn't hear any feedback for at least like 7 days. Of course, my wife came and said that was really good what you did. Had a couple text messages, whatever. But a part of me kind of was like, not that I don't appreciate, you know, the kudos or whatever, but at the same time, I didn't necessarily need to sustain myself off of the kudos or the affirmation. It's like, I felt led that this is the project that I need to do. This is the story that I needed to tell. I did my job. That's it.
Yeah.
And it got released. I'm like, to me, I'm like, this is my best work yet.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it.
Bruh, can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I didn't hit you up because I thought Blaze did that.
Oh, no.
Because we came here and Blaze was doing some work, and I was like, oh, he must have did the documentary. Documentary is fire.
shout out to Blaze.
Shout out to Blaze. But bruh,
Appreciate
you
it.
did your thing, bruh.
Appreciate it.
That was fire. It really was.
And what's funny,
Wow.
man, is all these individuals. It's crazy because like you impact on Ivy, and Ivy's doing his thing. JR. Blaze had an impact on JR.
There would be no Butcher Media Design without
right.
Blaze.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's just crazy.
These cameras, bro. At least one of them.
Crazy how it reciprocates and how things come full circle.
And you know, I just watched last week. I finished the last season of, the fourth season of Stranger Things.
That man is a fan.
Which I am. The writing, mwah, you know, it was phenomenal. No, but in any good season, man, or any good series, man, when you start in the beginning, right? You don't know what's happening. The story's starting to unfold, and they're dropping little crumbs in there. You have questions, and you keep coming back because you want these questions answered. And then finally, if it's written well, then everything starts to come together.
It starts to develop.
It starts to develop, and you see how the story is weaving together into one chord. Like I'm starting to see that the older I get, or the older I become in life in general. Like you see, like, wow, God, you really put Blaze in JR's life, and then you put JR in my life back at Solano, and Caleb and Donald met back here, and you start to see these things, God weaving things together. And what I'm starting to realize is the foundation at the end of the day is just getting started. Right, just getting started. Like at some point, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. Right. You have to take the shot. And for you, right, you were doing this big documentary, the 13-year documentary for the church. We watched that. That was the service that day. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of pressure leading up into that. But when you sit back and you start to look at it in retrospect, there were steps and projects that you worked on before then. I'm sure there were wedding shoots that you did leading up into where when you got to those wedding shoots, you were nervous. Like, oh my goodness, this is somebody's wedding.
This is how crazy it is. JR and Blaze did a wedding of one of my coworkers.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, they did a wedding of one of my coworkers like a couple years ago.
Oh, Napa. Yeah.
So it's crazy.
And everything adds, right? Everything adds on top of each other. And it's just a concept that I keep coming back to. Like, going live on television was first, there was preceded by something else. There was something that came before that. Like, no one goes to the gym first day and you got 3 plates.
Me.
You know what I'm saying?
Man
Man-child. No, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
you got to
absolutely.
start, in each day at the gym compounds onto the next, where you can lift more weight further down the line. Well, so where it might look heavy to someone else, but to you it's not heavy, because it's like, I've been in here training.
That's why it's called exercising, though. That's like, you have to get the reps in. Like, it's the reps.
It's the reps. So to those people, to you all who just don't know where to start, like, for me, one thing I can say in my starting was, I didn't know what I liked per se, but I knew what I didn't like. And sometimes that's a good way to weed things out too. Like, let me narrow it down. I don't like doing this type of work, so let me just focus in this area. You know what I mean? Just to get started. And then along the way, you can learn a little bit more about yourself and you can find your path.
That's facts too. And like, you know, we often repeat a lot of the past episodes, but I was just going back to Doc. I was convinced of the vision that I had for the documentary.
Yeah.
Like, I ended up making purchases, like you saw the drone shot and everything. I was like, I have this vision of this drone coming into the church.
Yeah.
But like, I remember in the principal photography, like the principal filming, Pastor John, Pastor Kyra was like, "How are you gonna put this together?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Like, it's gonna come together. Just trust me. Like, it's gonna come together."
Vision.
Bro, that would have so, like, back in the day, like, the younger me, I would have been so discouraged by that, because with me being a visionary, it's hard for me when you don't have other people that can see that. And then what freed me was, and I'm not saying this about Pastor John and Kai, I'm not saying this, but what freed me was when I saw the quote that says, "Stop letting the blind proofread your vision."
Yep.
Stop letting the blind proofread your vision.
Wow.
Because when I realized that, I was like, man, everybody's not going to be able to see it. And sometimes the only way that they're going to be able to see it is after it's already done.
Facts.
And the crazy part about it too, like, for instance, like with you getting the spotlight on the news and everything, is like, if you're not convinced of the vision, how are you going to bring other people onto the vision? Because right now you're in the position where you're starting to see, and this is usually what happens with the business. It's usually, it ends up splitting into sales and operations, and even further than that.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're obviously doing the job of 20 people in the future.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
going to go back and think, oh, wow, we took a visit to a church maybe like a year or two ago and got to go into their behind the scenes. I think it was is it a church out in Rockland or Roseville? Mm-hmm. Basically, we went through a whole department where I went by probably like 20 or 30 different people that did what I do here at the church and did what I do here in the business. So it made me go, one or two things. It made me go, one, you need to start training people. Mm-hmm. And then 2, you really need to be convinced about the vision of what you're doing here.
Yep.
So that way, all the weight, not necessarily all the weight isn't on you, but this vision that you have could be much bigger than you.
Yeah, for sure.
What God told Abraham, dude, that vision is much bigger than you. You're gonna have more children than the stars and the grain of the sand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's probably thinking to himself like, bro, how?
Right. How old? I'm 90-some years old. Like, I haven't had one yet, God. Like, what are you talking about?
It said when his reproductive organs was as good as dead. That he got that promise.
Yeah. But vision, bro. Like, once again, and JR, I hope you're ready, because we're putting it out here right now. This dude made a documentary. Go on the Building Christian Fellowship, YouTube channel. Go check out the 13-year anniversary documentary. And bro, because people are going to come to you for that. I'm about to come to you for that. You better start getting your prices ready, bro. You feel me? Because people going to hit you up. That was fire. And when you just do something, bro, and you just put it out there and see what sticks and see who grabs it, like, that's how you find out. Like, you'll never know if you never get started.
And what's crazy about that for me, that vision of that opening scene that I did brought me more business. Hey, you fly a drone? Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I had a buddy back in North Carolina was like, bro, was that drone footage edited? Like, I posted another video on my Instagram reels.
Yeah.
And they're like, was that all edited? I'm like, that was raw footage. He's like, bro, what?
Yeah.
It's like, that was fire. And it's just like, you putting out that vision is opening up so many other doors, and you almost didn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Why do you think we second guess our abilities and what it is that we know we second guess or we play down our potential? You know what I'm saying? What is it that keeps us from being great? Because to be honest with you, like I know that I'm capable. Like if I really purposed in my heart, I'm capable of starting a project from scratch. I'm talking about like an album. I could start an album from scratch right now and have it ready by the end of the month. Mm-hmm. Because it's just interesting to me. Like, what do you think that is? It comes from internally. It's not anything external. So what do you think it is?
As y'all are looking deeper into that, I got one aspect of it. That's a deep question. I'll probably be sitting here for 2 minutes thinking about it. Right. But I think one aspect of it can be, and for me, is a lack of work. Like a lack of actually doing the work. For instance, when I'm procrastinating on something, like remember being in school, you got a test coming up and you ain't studied at all, but you've been in class the entire year. My level of anxiety leading into that test is going to be 100% dependent on how much I studied going into the test. Mm. Now, when I get to the test on that day, okay, now it's like it's time to perform. But my peace going into the test is always going to be based on the amount of work that I've done leading up into the test. You know what I mean? So
do you feel like it's because to me that seems like you would be kind of like confident that, okay, I'm able to do this. So that's why I've put it off for so long.
Right.
Or you overestimate your abilities to be successful.
I think in those instances, but sometimes it's just a matter. Sometimes there's people who overestimate. Sometimes it's an aspect of just procrastination, just procrastinating and not doing the work. I think it's another aspect of it. But once again, that's just, I feel like, a small portion of it. I think there's another aspect of it that's just like when stakes get on the line and that adrenaline starts to go and it's a real life situation, it's fight or flight. You know what I mean? I think some of it is just natural. It's just innate, and that's what helps us kind of stand and rise to the occasion in the heat of battle. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain authenticity of just being live, you know what I'm saying? And being here where it's like, okay, I got to perform now. Pre-game, I'm sure everybody has some type of jitters leading into a serious event.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Absolutely. For me, I instantly go like sports-minded. Is like I think about like a LeBron James, and his life has been under a microscope for almost 20 years now. And so when you look at him, I don't know if you could have necessarily told 18-year-old LeBron going into the league, hey, you're going to be a 4-time championship, however many MVPs, soon to be leading scorer of the NBA.
Right.
Like, you probably couldn't have told him that, but the fact that he had the work ethic and had like the drive to go in a certain direction is what brought him there. And I think a lot of people kind of are afraid to get started because they don't know what it looks like. So they're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of the path and not realizing, hey, if I just put one foot in front of the other, I'm going to get there. And people don't know what success looks like, so they're afraid of, well, if I don't make this level of success, then I'm going to be a failure. Like, don't necessarily be a comparison of like, well, my journey doesn't look like Donald's, or my journey doesn't look like Josh's or JR's or whatever. It's like, well, what does your journey look like? You don't know because you haven't taken the steps yet. And so I think it's just a matter of like taking that first step. Like, who knows? Like, LeBron James could have went to college. Him going from high school into the NBA is a big deal. Even though he's talented, it's a big deal. It's a big leap. You're going from playing with high school kids to playing with grown men in the NBA. Like, that's a huge first step. And so, that kind of started the beginning of a long process of becoming a champion. And once he got the taste of one ring, he's like, all right, I can do this again. And he did. Regardless of how people want to argue about how he got the rings, he went out there and he got it, and he competed and he went after it.
Yeah.
So it's just taking that first step, not being afraid. I think the first step encourages the next step.
It does.
Because once you get your feet wet, like being in the pool, once you get your feet wet, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Yes. And I'm even going back to the analogy that you just used or relating to LeBron, like the jump from high school to the NBA, that wasn't even the first step for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
There were moments leading into that, playing as a McDonald's all-school, all-American game. Like the big games leading up into that, each one, it's not like he just got there and poof, I arrived. Just like the person who finally, gets a radio jam and a radio, oh, man, they blew up overnight. No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
No, they didn't. I mean, they've been doing this for years.
Like, bro, and this might give me some ridicule, but he might be an industry plant too. I don't know. But look at Jack Harlow, bro. Look at Donald. Jack Harlow, years before he had his first big hit, was like one of the kids making music, bro. Literally. For years.
Wow.
And then he blows up.
Like a White Iverson.
Post Malone.
But bruh makes like some serious commercial hooks. That dude just got he got hooks.
Which one?
Post Malone. Post Malone got like that dude just know how to write.
Yeah,
he has a good pen.
But when he dropped White Iverson, it was like, where did this dude come from?
Right. So what's funny about that is it was funny because I was talking to a coworker about this like a few months back, and he was saying about we were actually talking about the same subject we're on right now, and he brought up Post Malone because he was saying how like what is it that keeps people from just coming out with whatever it is that they're good at, like what keeps them from just executing on whatever their gift or their superpower is. And he was saying how with that particular song, Post Malone was told by his circle that, yeah, man, you need to do all this stuff and market and promote this song before you release it. And he was like, no, I'm gonna just drop it on SoundCloud. And he dropped it on SoundCloud and it just blew up like literally like overnight. It just blew up. And so sometimes I think it is that simple. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we sit there and we think that, Lord, we need more. We need more. There has to be something else. And it's like, no, it's just do this. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's the simplicity of just putting it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Because procrastination and perfection tend to work hand in hand, right? So procrastination really a lot of times is just our arrogance, right?
Yeah.
We think that we know what we're supposed to do, but we think that we can put it off and that somehow God owes us another opportunity to go and do it. And then perfection is literally, procrastination basically just masquerading itself around as being perfection. Yeah. And that's not what it is. It's like we just stalling and hiding from what it is.
Do you know what Michael Jordan's overall field goal percentage was?
No.
It's like 40-something%. When you hear that on any test, that's an F.
Yeah.
But he's considered to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time and had like a 40-something% field goal percentage.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest basketball player of all time missed game-winning shots. The greatest of all time has, done all these different things. It's just like even the most successful person more or less fails or has lessons that he has to learn in order to get better.
So do you feel that a lot of times you need to see somebody do it before you can do it?
Man, I think that's definitely an aspect to it. I think that's an aspect of it, right? Because I was going to say, I think another thing is a lack of exposure. Like, I truly believe that exposure breeds new opportunity. Like, the closer you are to something, good or bad, the greater the likelihood for you to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure even though you didn't play sports, I'm sure you got him into sports at a young age, but then I'm sure it helped Jericho seeing you, right? Because play football. And the other athletes in the family play football. Like, so I think it does help, but I think at the end of the day, like there has to be something in you that says, no matter what, I'm gonna go get it. But I do think that exposure helps. I think exposure absolutely helps.
Well, speaking of exposure, is the law of exposure says that events you attend, materials you read, the music you hear, images you watch, and daydreams you engage in shape your mind and ultimately your actions, character, and destiny.
Wow.
That's what it says about the law of exposure. And so I know for me, what was funny, like you were talking about going to the gym, I know like I was a full-grown adult before I hit 3 wheels, you know what I'm saying, on the bench press. Yeah. Jericho is 16 years old, and this man is already hitting 3 wheels on the bench press.
Exposure.
Again, like, yeah, it was exposure because when I saw him, a lot of times, that's why I asked, is it that I know for me, it helps me a lot of times when I see somebody do it first, or if I see them do something similar first, and I'm like, yeah, I could do that too. Yeah. But like some of these dudes I follow on IG that are some of like the best lifters, I find that I have better training sessions when I've watched them, right? When I've watched them move these weights, and I'm like, man, yeah, it gets me in the mindset of that. Yeah, I'm gonna go in here, and I might not be doing as much as them, but I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna push myself, right? It gives me a mark to shoot towards. And so I remember, a few months back when Jericho, I saw that he was getting stronger and stronger. I was like, okay, that pushed me to like, okay, let me go ahead and show him what it looks like to move 3 wheels. And he had never touched it before in his life. And so when he saw me, I know for a fact that gave him, and I made sure that I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. I just went and moved it. And just so that way he would be able to get the mind muscle connection of like, okay, I see what it looks like. Let me go and do that myself. And so again, like it goes to that whole law of exposure, man, because I honestly believe what it is that we meditate. I think we meditate a lot of times on what are the bad things that could happen, what are the negative things that could happen, as opposed to the success that we'll experience. Or sometimes even we'll rehearse the success, and because success is so unfamiliar to us, sometimes that tends to have an adverse reaction, and we kind of are a little bit afraid or apprehensive,
or derails us, and we stop once we reach the success.
That too.
But exposure, once again, is so true, and that's why I, not just being a part of the podcast, but even if I wasn't, would still be watching this podcast, because you get the opportunity to watch other people, men, we're ordinary. I'm a regular guy. We have regular conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up without my pops. You know what I'm saying? To an extent, you know what I'm saying? At some point or another, like we all kind of, then there's a lot of people who can relate to that and then go and say, what? Oh man, JR did it. Donald did it. Josh, and that's what it takes. Like I saw, man, what is it, man? The homies from the church who was on Good Day Sacramento recently with the 3D ultrasound.
Oh yeah.
Talking about Vernon Morgan.
Yeah.
That was a commercial for them too,
bruh. Right. That was the exposure for me though. I seen them on there.
Wow.
I was like, oh wow, they got on the news. I can do that.
Yes.
I can get on the news. That's literally what did it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all it takes is for someone else to see, like, oh, they did it. So I'm so happy about all that's happening, that's bubbling right now in this community, because I know that there is a new awakening that's happening of, you know what? Good things do come out of Sassoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Good things come out of wherever you're at. Like, if we can do it, you can do it too. That's what Watch Me Develop is all about. Watch us. We're constantly developing. We are being exposed to the light, to the sun. You know what I'm saying? And then trying to go and relay that same exposure to you all.
Absolutely.
That's the perfect ending to me.
Perfect ending, man. Picture perfect ending.
Here's what's wild that we could do, because this conversation doesn't seem like it's losing any steam. I think this has been a good episode for YouTube. But what do y'all think about recording a bonus episode real quick? Just a little bit extra content.
All right.
Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? So for the time being, thank you guys for watching, listening to these episodes of Watch Me Develop. Look, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on
Anchor.
Apple, Anchor, all the places.
Yep.
Spotify.
So yeah,
Wherever podcasts are streamed.
we're there. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Deuces.